What will convince you to decide to adopt a web marketing system? I think many people don't even understand that there's a kind of a strategy you can adopt, or that you need to adopt, that is wise for you to adopt. It's called a web marketing strategy, and this involves preparing a kind of a business plan for your online presence. So in order to develop and implement that business plan effectively and in a sustainable manner, I always tell people that it's best to have a web marketing system, and that's something I conceived. Of course, people can choose to decide what exactly goes into their own system, but I have 9 components I developed over the years as being components that are implemented in phases. But what will convince you to do that, as against just going about your marketing in normal way? In fact, let's start with this. How would you decide to do your marketing? Would you want to do marketing that requires you to go out and do pavement pounding and go on from door to door, place advertisements and things like that? Or would you like to do something that will require people to see your marketing messages and contact you themselves and come to you by themselves? So there's what you call the outbound marketing, and there's what you call the inbound marketing. Which would you prefer? Okay, so there's outbound marketing and there's inbound marketing. Now, you could do your outbound market. Outbound marketing is marketing in which you are the one reaching out to people, you're sending out messages, or you could actually be physically going out, or you could be sending messages on your phone, making phone calls, cold calls to people that total strangers, or to people that you already know, going physically out and doing the pavement pounding, going from door to door, placing ads in newspapers and stuff like. Well, okay, not necessarily placing. Okay, no, you go out, basically you reach out to people directly. Okay, that's more of the outbound marketing. The inbound marketing is the one which you put out marketing messages of all kinds, without necessarily making direct contact with people. And the marketing messages will contain what you call a call to action that will make those people now, if they feel they need what you talked about in your marketing message, they will then reach out to you using the information you provided them, the marketing message, maybe your phone number, your email, the URL to your website, which has a contact form attached to it, and things like that. I promised that I would tell some stories, because I know that stories will help people to understand better and faster what I'm talking about in terms of how you make up your mind what you should do. For the most part, my experiences in the Nigerian market space, physical experiences in the Nigerian market space, convince me that it is wise for a person who wants to really succeed to first of all go out and get some field experience. So you will benefit by going out, for starters, go and get your feet wet. All right, go out and do the pavement pounding, talk to people, have the sales conversations, mix with people, learn to watch body language, do the non-verbal communication and all of that, learn to try and close sales, get to understand people. When they tell you, see me tomorrow, I'll get back to you later, begin to know who and who to take seriously and who not to, because many times when they say, let me have your card, I'll see you later, they actually try to get rid of you, so when you've done all that, I would recommend that it's going to be like the kind of building the foundation for yourself. You need to have some feel for what it's like to try and sell to people in a society like ours, because it's very difficult here. You have a lot of people that play mind games. They actually do not intend to buy anything, but they get their kicks, their excitement from just messing with your head. I'm telling you, some people will just play with you. They will give you phone number, tell you to call them, they'll tell you to come to the office. They'll give you a time, they'll tell you to come, and they won't be there. That is done to me countless times. So over the years, I evolved in my understanding of how to sell to people in this social space. It's very, very different from what you have in other parts of the world. And I found out that people can be extremely mischievous for a variety of reasons. I cannot go into those now. So ultimately, I found that the experience I got enabled me to understand how to sell to them remotely. So eventually, at some point, about 12 years later, I withdrew and began using the web marketing system exclusively, remotely, to sell to Nigerians. And guess what? I more than quadrupled my success rate of conversion. And the funny thing is, I got them to pay a lot more than they were paying to me when I used to go and do face-to-face marketing. So that is a fact that cannot be contested. The achievements I've recorded over the years prove it, and I've proven it with clients that have taken my guidance with web marketing today that I'm providing that support service to. So I'm going to tell you this. It is in your best interest to get the experience in the field. Go and learn how to sell to people. You do reading, do a little reading about the sales process, either attention, interest, desire, and action. Yeah, all those theory stuff. But go out there and learn how to sell to people, how to approach them, what's called an elevator speech, all those things. Practice and learn. See the way people respond to you. That will give you the basis on which to evaluate whether or not you need to adopt a web marketing system. You will understand better. It is only a person that has not experienced trying to sell to Nigerians directly and have to go through the psychological, how do I put it now, peaks and troughs that will reject the opportunity to use a web marketing system. If you've dealt with Nigerians, you will love to use a web marketing system. Now, let me tell you a story. There was a time, I think, let me see what year was that. I think it was about 2008 or 2009. I was doing my pavement pounding and I came across a big complex. We had a lot of companies in it, this different companies on different floors and all that. And there was this real estate company. I'd been seeing their cars around, and I said, "Oh wow, so this is their office." It looked like one of their main offices. So I decided to just pop in and tell them what I could do for them. At that time, up till now, all the same things I've been selling for almost 20 years. That same thing I sell now. I'm nothing new. So I was offering my Excel VB services and I was offering my web marketing support services. And I would look at the client and I would say, okay, this is what this person might need, or they might need both, or might need a combination, or So I would decide what the client would need. And so I saw that these guys, from looking at the URL put on their signboard, it was clearly not going. I checked it on my laptop. I said, okay, I'm going to go to these guys. I didn't have a flyer or anything like I normally would. I just walked in there. And this is the thing. When you got into a point where you really need to make a sale, you need the money. If you're not a shy person and if you have the creativity, your creative juices will just push you to say it the way it needs to be said. So you just, boom, you just hit them. So I just walked into the place and requested to speak to the CEO. They said there was no CEO, that's a partner, but he was not around, and they said there's a deputy. I said, can I speak with the deputy? And after a while, the guy said, okay, sir, sit down, sir, how can I help you? And I basically just told him, this is what I believe I can do for you guys. I noticed your website is down. And he says, oh yeah, it's actually been down for 6 years. And he explained the circumstances to me that they actually had somebody who built it for them before. They didn't tell me the reason. But according to them, the guy had locked up their website and simply refused to allow them to renew. Now, they didn't tell me the details. I was later to find out the details. And those details eventually affected me. But I'll tell you that in a second, another story. So anyway, he says, okay, wow, I love you. I was basically explaining to him the benefits that would accrue to them if they allowed me to help them resuscitate their online presence, all right, and then manage their web marketing. So resuscitating their online presence, I would actually not charge a fee. That was one of the things that caught his attention. I said, I would build your website for you. There will be no fee. Now, at this time I'm talking about, this was 2008, 2009, a lot of web designers had already begun to call me because along the Allen Avenue axis, for instance, there were certain clients I've spoken with and done jobs for who had quoted me to other people and said, this guy says you're not supposed to charge us for building a website because the website does not guarantee money or sales. That it is when the website is made to generate leads that you can then say it's working. So they were challenging their web designers to do what I had said I would do, which was I said I would not charge you any money to build the website. Instead, I would charge you to create marketing content that would generate sales leads. And they got angry. I said, who is this guy? So I actually got phone calls from some people who said, oh boy, now you spoil market for us. That's a long time ago. So anyway, I did that. And so I spoke with this gentleman and he said, the way you're explaining what you can do, this is very interesting. We just had a company, a team of 4 people or 3 people. So they came in an official car. They brought the projectors and they did this presentation on what they can do for us on our website. They were just bells and whistles. They were telling us some technical jargon. All the technical jargon they were telling these guys, I knew what they were, but you don't talk to a client that is a non-technical client. That's a technical novice. You don't use such language to tell them what you're going to do for them. You tell them what they're going to do for them in terms of the benefits that they can comprehend. Oh, we need to make more money. How are we going to make more money? What we're going to do for you will make more people to see that they need to contact you, and therefore they will get more, an increase in the number of email requests, web form submissions, phone calls, and why would that happen? Because we're going to put articles on so on. So you don't start saying Western conversion ratio and all those things. Those guys came and used all the technical jargon. We're telling them about usability and all of that. So he said this partner had been so discouraged. I said, what's all these people are saying? He now said, okay, we'll get back to you guys later. So those guys left, and I came in some hours later. Now, so he told me, he said, I think the Oga would like to see you. He would like to speak with you. So can you come in tomorrow morning? I said, why not? I would gladly come in. And so the next morning, I came in around 9 a.m. And the guy listened to me only for about 5 minutes. He said, you know what? He said, you know, you are speaking English. He said, this is what we're talking about. Those other people just came in, they were just blowing big grammar, all this technical grammar. Look, I can understand what you're saying. You are telling us, hey, fine, you know what? When can you get started? There, that day, and this has happened to me countless times, he instructed the accountant, they were all on the same floor there. There was a big room, and they all had their desks. And he just said, write him a check. I did an invoice right there. You understand? They printed it from their own computer, from their own printer. And the lady then arranged, signed, got it to the Oga, they signed, and I got my check. When I went to that place on that day, I tell you, I borrowed money from a vulcanizer to put petrol in my car to drive down that day, and I was keeping my fingers crossed that I would not have to go back and start telling the vulcanizer stories again, because that guy, I used to borrow money from him a lot. You know, I think I need to go and give gifts. I've been talking about him so much to people, and I don't think people believe me. Maybe if you allow me to record it, I'll record a video with him. He used to borrow me money. He used to lend me money, and I would, if I didn't have the money to pay back, this was 2008, 2009, I would then start driving through another route. I'm still going to tell you stories about how I used to get petrol from petrol stations without paying money. You won't believe it. And I did not commit crimes, but I had to be creative. Anyway, so I had borrowed money from this guy to buy petrol. So I had kept my fingers crossed, and indeed I got a check. And the job I did for them, at that time I used to do, I would say I was building a website. I wasn't building a website, I was developing a web marketing system. So the website will always be free, 100,000 naira. And it was a lot, 2008 now, 2009. So I got the check and I started the job. Guess what? I did the job to a point where I then said, I noticed that the CEO was posting articles, was publishing articles in newspapers like Guardian and all that. And I said, you're spending a lot of money, sir. Let's use this in the web marketing. Let's publish on article promotion platforms, that are free. They call them, there's one called isanarticle.com. And the man said, oh, and I told him about Facebook, and he was telling me, no, Facebook is for Yahoo boys and all that. And he said, look, Tayo, I've been in this business for 25 years. All those things don't work. So I let him be. I finished the job. I handed it over to them, and of course I was available to do maintenance if they wanted. And I walked away and I went on with my life. About, I think 1 or 2 months later, I get a call from this CEO. And he says, are you around? I said, oh yeah, I'm in Keja. I said, can you just pop over to the office before you go home? I said, okay, sir. So I pop into the office and he says, look, sit down. He said, I got a phone call from a South African company. And they said they found my details in an article you helped me to publish on isanarticle.com. I said, yes, I told you, sir, that stuff like that could happen. Okay, so they call them article marketing service. And he said those guys paid him $100 Amazon coupon, right? Which meant he could buy stuff up to $100 with that coupon, a gift coupon. They used that to pay him, to consult him for an hour, to ask him about the Nigerian real estate market, which they had always wanted to get into. He said because they saw his profile that I prepared for him on isanarticle.com, linked at the bottom, the bio linked at the bottom of the article that I published there, which was his own article really. I didn't write it for him. I simply republished it there and I put a bio for him, which they could click and read his full profile. He said that those people said they decided to get in touch with him because they knew that he would be useful as a kind of a means of accessing the Nigerian market for possibilities they could explore. So he said, Tayo, when can you do that Facebook thing? I said, okay, but you said it's for Yahoo boys. He said, oh, forget about that. And so in essence, what I'm saying is this. That experience helped me to cement in my mind the fact that if I could deliver value to people, they would actually want to continue with me. They will call me back. So I realized that everything I'd done for them, I didn't actually have to physically be with them. I simply had to show them enough to convince them that they should hire me. So that was what made me realize that, okay, I need to do more of this web marketing remotely to see if I can win more clients so that I don't have to physically interact with all the clients. And for instance, during those periods, I used to actually work physically in their offices. And I wouldn't have to do that. I could do it from home. Everything I was doing for them, I could actually do from home and I'll get them to send to me. As I speak to you today, in the last 10 years, I have not done any work directly for anybody. I've always worked remotely. I speak with you now as somebody who just started working with a client that's based in Tanzania. He's sending material to me. I'm building a website for him and I've never met him before. He bought my software in 2016. He's been in my WhatsApp group for years, and now he's hired me and paid me money to begin to build a web marketing system for him. I have never met him before, and I'm doing that. Think about it. That's the power of using technology remotely. So I hope this story will give you some ideas, but I'm going to use what I've shared in this story to explain more to you why it is important to incorporate a web marketing system with whatever you're doing offline, even if you're marketing physically. It still benefits you to adopt a web marketing system because it will make you more productive in your use of your marketing efforts offline. Never allow technology to be idle when it can serve you, and you're already paying for it because most of you use the internet anyway. That's it. I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, do let me know. Please follow me. There are a lot of stories I can tell. I can tell you one story every day for the next year, and I'll still have like 3 years worth of stories to tell you.